Xinhua 1522, November 29, 2017. Beijing, November 29. Xinhua. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea (Dprk) has confirmed that it successfully test-fired a newly developed intercontinental ballistic missile ICBM early Wednesday morning. The latest missile test by Dprk has drawn strong condemnation from countries and international organizations. Confirming the test launch, the Dprk government said the development and advancement of the strategic weapon of Dprk are to defend the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the country from the U.S. imperialists' nuclear blackmail policy and nuclear threat, and to ensure the peaceful life of the people. It is Dprk's solemn declaration that the missiles would not pose any threat to any country and region as long as the interests of the Dprk are not infringed upon, said a statement released by the official Korean Central News Agency. The latest launch came a week after the United States redesignated the Dprk as a state sponsor of terrorism and slapped a new round of sanctions against the country. The ROK military also conducted a precision strike missile launch in response, according to the South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff. Dprk's missile launch gave rise to wide condemnations. U.S. Defense Secretary James Mattis said at the White House that the missile launch had a higher trajectory than any missile launched by the Dprk thus far. U.S. President Donald Trump spoke by phone with Japanese and South Korean leaders separately over the missile launch, said the White House. During their talks, Trump and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe reaffirmed their commitment to combating the Dprk's nuclear threat, while Trump and his South Korean counterpart Moon Jae-in in another phone call condemned the Dprk for developing its nuclear and ballistic missile programs. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres also condemned Dprk's latest missile launch, saying it is a clear violation of Security Council resolutions. The Secretary-General urges the Dprk to desist from taking any further destabilizing steps. The Secretary-General reaffirms his commitment to working with all parties to reduce tensions, Guterres spokesman Stefan Dujarric said in a statement. Condemning the missile launch, the European Union said the move is a further unacceptable violation of its international obligations. A spokesperson of the European External Action Service (EAS), the EU's diplomatic service, urged the Dprk to engage in a credible and meaningful dialogue, aimed at pursuing the complete, verifiable and irreversible denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and the full implementation of all relevant UN Security Council resolutions. Canadian Foreign Minister Chrystia Freeland said North Korea's nuclear and ballistic missile programs present a direct threat to the world. Canada said that it is set to convene a meeting of foreign ministers, co-hosted with the United States, to address this pressing issue. Given the complex and sensitive situation on the peninsula, China has been calling for more efforts to ease tensions and settle the issue through dialogue and consultation. To help soothe the situation, China has proposed a dual-track approach, seeking to advance denuclearization and establish a peace mechanism in parallel. Beijing, in its suspension for suspension initiative, calls on Pyongyang to pause its missile and nuclear activities, and calls on Washington to put its joint military drills with South Korea on hold. For the latest China news, please follow People's Daily on Twitter and Facebook. Web editor Liang Jun's Bianji.